Hey, thanks for dropping in. For what's likely the last show of 2024, what with Christmas and New Year's right around the corner. Also, right around the corner is the official start of winter. Less than a week away as of this filming. Seems as good a time as any for another entry in our series on soups. Coming up right after the intro. Okay, so the soup we're making is creamy tomato, which, honestly, I refused to even try for the longest time. I didn't grow up with it, and in my head, I always equated tomato soup with marinara sauce. And why would anyone want to eat a bowl of marinara sauce? Anyway, 10 plus years of marriage to my very Canadian wife, who did grow up in tomato soup, taught me maybe not a love, but certainly an appreciation for a good tomato soup, especially when paired with a crunchy, melty grilled cheese sandwich. That's good stuff. Alright, we're all done with the prep. Let's get to cooking. We're going to start by adding a nice knob of butter to our pot. We're then going to go in pretty quick with our shallots and garlic. It's not a problem that our pot isn't fully hot or our butter's not fully melted. We're going to cook these alliums down nice and slow. We want to soften them up, take a bit of their edge off. We're not frying to caramelize. This is looking good, so now we can go in with a couple of tablespoons of tomato paste. This will reinforce the tomato flavor in our soup and add some umami. As always, we want to fry the tomato paste a bit to deepen its flavor. Next, we're going to deglaze our pot with a little wine. Not a lot, only about a quarter cup. This is a dry white, which will lend our soup some different flavor notes. We're going to let this simmer until almost all that liquid boils off. Our pot's looking sufficiently dry. It's time to add the tomatoes. As you can see, we're using grape tomatoes. I love using these year-round, but especially in the winter months when big grocery store tomatoes aren't their best. I also prefer these to canned tomatoes, which can have a metallic aftertaste to them. We're going to add a tiny splash of water, then leave these to cook down until they basically burst out of their skins. Similar idea if we were making jam. To give our soup some complexity, we'll throw in a bunch of thyme. Still under twigs is fine, we'll fish them out later. This is where my marinara bias comes in again. A lot of recipes use basil, but I don't want our soup to taste like pizza sauce, and thyme works very well with tomatoes. Tarragon would work here as well, but you have to be careful because tarragon can be a little overwhelming. We'll give this a little seasoning of salt and fresh cracked pepper. Just a bit for now, because we'll season this again later on. One final stir, then it's on with the lid. We'll let the moisture and heat in that pot do its thing and break those tomatoes down. It's been about 10 minutes, and most of our tomatoes have popped. We can now pour in our water, 3 cups worth, and we'll wait for this to come back to a simmer. Next comes our BTB, Better Than Bouillon. Of course, if you had ready-made chicken stock on hand, you could combine these last 2 steps. We'll turn the heat down and cover this again to simmer for another 10 to 15 minutes. Our soup's mostly done. Now we can fish out those thyme sprigs. If we leave a couple of the small, delicate ones behind, it's not a problem. We just don't want to leave those big, woody ones. The heat's off, and I'll let this stop simmering for a minute before we move on to the next step, which is blitzing the soup until it's nice and thick and mostly smooth. We could pretty much stop here, but we're going to take this thing just a little bit further and run it through a mesh strainer. This will take a little patience and a little elbow grease, but the end result will be worth it because we'll end up with a really silky smooth soup. You can see all the stuff being left behind. That's tomato skins, seeds, bits of garlic and shallot and thyme that didn't quite get fully pureed. I'd say that's enough. We'll stop there. The soup goes back in the pot and we'll give this one last simmer to reduce a bit and concentrate the flavor even more. I promise, we're almost done. The soup's right about where I want it. Time to give it a taste. We'll give this a final seasoning. As smooth and creamy as this already is, it wouldn't be cream of tomato soup without the cream, so time for that to go in. Not too much, just enough to round out that acidity. And why not? One final taste. Yep, this is ready for the table. And here it is, my version of tomato soup. Rich, creamy with a slight tang. This is guaranteed to warm up your winter. You can dress this up a couple of different ways. You can throw on croutons, shredded cheese, a dollop of sour cream. Me, I'm going with a sprinkle of fresh thyme, just to call back on the flavors already in the soup. And that's it. Let's do the flyby. Thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed this episode, and if you did, please don't forget to hit the like and subscribe buttons. As always, drop any comments below. I always love reading through those. Finally, and most importantly, I want to wish you all a joyful holiday season, whether that's Christmas, Hanukkah, Kwanzaa, whatever you celebrate. Also wish you all the best for the new year. See you in 2025.